My girlfriend needed a break to go on a trip with her gay best friend. I replied, "I hope you find what you're looking for." Then I texted her friend's actual long-term boyfriend. She was left frantically calling me after her vacation was ruined by his angry arrival, leader to male and/or, I suppose. I was in a 4-year relationship with Amy, 29. We built a life. We have an apartment filled with furniture we picked out together, a ridiculously expensive television we both splurged on, and a rhythm, comfortable, predictable rhythm, or so I thought. Last Tuesday, she sat me down on our gray sectional sofa, the one she just had to have, and gave me the speech. Her voice was doing that thing where it tries to sound gentle and sad, but the excitement underneath keeps bubbling up. "Babe," she started, twisting a loose thread on a cushion. I feel like I'm losing myself a little. It's been us for so long, and I need to find me again, you know?" I didn't. I just nodded, so she took a deep breath. "Nicholas and I are going to take a little trip, just for a week, to that little beach town we talked about. It's a chance for me to clear my head. We need a break." Nicholas, 30, is her gay best friend. He's been a fixture in our lives for the past 2 years. He's loud, a little flamboyant, and, according to Amy, completely He also, according to Amy, has a revolving door of casual, short-lived flings. He's the one who leaves his muddy Adidas sneakers on the new rug and helps himself to my top-shelf whiskey without asking. I've never loved the guy, but I tolerated him for her. A break. The word hung in the air, thick and suffocating. It's never a break, it's a head start on a breakup. My heart was doing a frantic, painful drum solo against my ribs, but on the outside, I was perfectly still. I looked at her, at the forced sympathy in her eyes, the little flicker of impatience. She wanted me to be hysterical. She wanted a fight, something to justify her decision. I refused to give it to her. I thought about the last 4 years, the inside jokes. The time I held her hair back when she had food poisoning. The way she'd steal my hoodies and they'd smell like her perfume. A whole life, and it was ending with this flimsy, insulting lie. "Okay," I said. The single word felt monumental. She blinked. "That's it." "You said you need a break to find yourself?" I said, my voice even. "I hope you find what you're looking for." A wave of relief washed over her face, so potent it was almost comical. "Oh, thank you, babe. I knew you'd understand. It's not about you, it's about me. I'll call you every day. Nothing will change." Everything had already changed. She and Nicholas left on Thursday morning. She gave me a quick, sterile kiss at the door. "Be good," she said, as if I were the one about to cause a problem. I waited until I heard the elevator doors close. Then I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and sat down. The silence in the apartment was deafening. My hands were shaking just slightly. This is the part where I'm supposed to fall apart. I guess drink myself into a stupor. Call my friends for a post-mortem on my relationship. Instead, I picked up my phone. I went to Nicholas's social media. He wasn't very careful. He tagged his long-term boyfriend, Eric, 31, in a handful of photos from a wedding they attended 6 months ago. "My one and only," the caption read. Eric's profile was more private, but I saw he was a member of a public online group for a local marathon running club. It was a long shot, but I searched the club's public race results, found his name, and cross-referenced it with a public records database. It took about half an hour of focused searching, but I found a number. My finger hovered over the screen. This was the point of no return. A small, cold part of me felt a surge of something that wasn't quite anger, but a grim sense of purpose. It was the calm clarity that comes after the initial shock of a deep wound. I composed the text carefully. I read it over 3 times. "Hey Eric, you don't know me, but my name is Jacob. I'm Amy's boyfriend. I know this is going to sound insane, but I thought you should know that Amy and Nicholas are on their way to a week-long vacation at Beach Town name. Staying at the Sandpiper Inn, she told me it was a trip for her and her gay best friend. Judging by your profile, I'm guessing that's not the whole story. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. I have hotel confirmations if you need them. She forwarded them to our shared email. I hit send. Then I blocked Amy's number. I blocked Nicholas's. I logged out of all our shared accounts, Netflix, Spotify, everything. I changed the password to the Wi-Fi, sat back on the couch, and looked around the quiet apartment. It already felt less like ours and more like mine. That was Thursday. It's Saturday night now. My phone has been buzzing with notifications from a number I don't recognize for the past 3 hours. Voicemails. 2. A lot of them. I finally listened to one. It was Amy. She wasn't sad or gentle. She was hysterical. Jacob, pick up the phone. What did you do?
Eric is here. He's here.
He's screaming at Nicholas. You've ruined everything. Call me back. You have to fix this. I deleted the voicemail. I haven't listened to the others. I assume they're more of the same. The frantic buzzing has been replaced by a deep, satisfying silence. I think my break is going much better than hers. Update. It's been a week since my last post. Lot has happened, and frankly, my capacity for surprise has been exhausted. Thank you for the comments and message. It's strange but validating to know I'm not crazy. The frantic calls from unknown numbers continued through Sunday. I didn't answer. By Monday morning, they had devolved into a series of text messages. I unblocked them temporarily, morbidly curious to see the train wreck. Amy, Jacob. I can't believe you would do this to me. To us. The hotel manager got involved. Eric told them Nicholas wasn't his guest anymore, and they made him leave the room. I had to find him a sketchy motel for the night. Eric took the car this morning. We were stranded. I had 2x2 last minute. Bus tickets home. They cost a fortune. You owe me. Dude, what the hell is your problem? You blew up my life. 5 years gone because you couldn't handle your girl needing some space. You need to pay me and Amy back for this disastrous trip. The sheer, unadulterated entitlement was breathtaking. My crime of revealing the truth was somehow worse than their coordinated deception. I took screenshots of everything. Then I replied to them both in a group chat. Me, I will not be sending either of you any money. Your travel arrangements are your own responsibility. Amy, I've already begun the process of separating our finances. I've closed our joint savings account and transferred my half to a new account. You'll find your half has been deposited into your personal checking. Also, I've paid this month's rent in full from my own account. Your half is $1,100. I'll need that, plus your share of the utilities, by the end of the week. The response was instantaneous and furious. They accused me of theft, of being a monster. I didn't reply. I just blocked them both again. The next phase required me to be methodical. On Tuesday, I called our landlord. I explained that my partner and I had separated and that she would be moving out. I asked what the process was to have her removed from the lease. He explained it would require a formal addendum signed by all parties. This was key. My next call was to my own bank. I documented the closure of the joint account. I made a list of every shared expense, every financial tie we had. One by one, I severed them. Each call was a small, clean snip, cutting away the rot. It wasn't all cold calculation. On Wednesday night, I was packing her things. I tried to be impersonal, but then I found a little framed photo from our second anniversary. We were at a music festival, both sunburned and smiling, her head on my shoulder. A wave of grief hit me so hard I had to sit down on the floor. It wasn't for her, not the her that existed. Now it was for the woman I thought she was. I let myself feel it for about 10 minutes. Then I put the frame in the box face down and kept working. They came back on Thursday. I heard the key in the lock. The door opened, and there they were, looking haggard and furious. "We need to talk," Amy said, storming in. Nicholas followed, glaring at me. "You've got a lot of nerve." I stayed seated on the sofa. I pointed to the neat stack of boxes by the door. "All your things are there," I said to Amy. I tried to be careful. She stared at the boxes, her face a mask of disbelief. "You packed my stuff. You're kicking me out?" "You left," I corrected her. "Now I'm moving on." "You can't stay here." "You can't do that," she shrieked. "I'm on the lease. I have rights." "You're right, you are," I said calmly. "But let's be realistic. You think we can live here together after this? The lease requires co-tenants to ensure a peaceful environment. Your presence after your deception makes that impossible. You can try to stay, but I will document every interaction. Every bill will be split to the cent. Every chore will be a negotiation. Is that the hostile life you want to come back to?" I let that hang in the air for a moment before sliding the lease addendum across the coffee table. "When you sign this, we settle the money you owe, and we make a clean break." She looked from the paper to me, her eyes searching for a crack. She found none. Update: the confrontation in the living room was a turning point. Amy, seeing I wouldn't break, resorted to her final weapons: emotional blackmail and bureaucratic obstruction. She refused to sign the lease addendum. "Fine," she spat. "I'll stay. I'll sleep on the couch. We'll see how you like living with a roommate you hate." It was a childish, desperate move. "That's your choice," I said, standing up. "But just so we're clear, until you are off the lease, you are legally responsible for 50% of all household expenses. And since you've been away, you're currently in arrears for this month's rent and several utilities. I'll be sending you a formal itemized invoice via email every Friday." I walked over to the thermostat and turned the air conditioning down to a brisk 68. "Just want to be comfortable," I said. They left, defeated for the moment. Amy took a few boxes, but not all of them a petty act of defiance. "I'm still here." The remaining boxes screamed from the corner of the room. The next day, I started the process of taking her to small claims court. My claim was precise: her half of the rent, $1,100, and the past due utilities, $247.50. I didn't include the security deposit. That was a separate battle. I also contacted our mutual friends. I didn't trash high, was calm, factual. "Hey, just letting you know, Amy and I split up." It was pretty sudden. She told me she needed a break and went on a trip with Nicholas. It turned out to be more complicated than that. But Amy and Nicholas weren't so disciplined. Their story was a whirlwind of accusations. The problem was, their stories kept changing. To some friends, I was a jealous monster. To others, I had hacked her phone. The lies grew more and more elaborate, and they couldn't keep them straight. Our friends started comparing notes. Their narrative fell apart. The best part was the social fallout that I had nothing to do with. Eric, Nicholas's ex-boyfriend, was rightfully devastated. He told everyone exactly what happened with my initial text as proof. Nicholas was swiftly excommunicated. By extension, Amy, his partner in crime, was frozen out too. They had torched their own social lives 2 weeks after the living room showdown. I received a certified letter from a lawyer threatening a lawsuit for illegal eviction and emotional distress. It was absurd. I sent a polite, factual response to the lawyer detailing her voluntary departure for the trip, her failure to pay her contractual share of the rent, and a copy of the lease. I never heard from him again. The pressure mounted on her. One night, I came home to find the rest of her boxes gone. An envelope was on the counter. Inside was the signed lease addendum and a check for $500 with paid in full written in the Memolina's last desperate attempt to control the narrative. She underestimated me. A quick internet search told me exactly how to handle a check with such a memo. Before I made a mobile deposit, I flipped it over and wrote clearly above my signature line, "Deposited under protest, all rights reserved." I took a picture of the front and back, then deposited it. I immediately updated my small claims filing to reflect the partial payment. She didn't get to decide when the debt was settled. The system would update. The court date was 3 months later. 3 months of blessed, quiet solitude. I rearranged the furniture. I bought a new rug. The apartment started to feel like a home again, not a battleground. I was healing. Amy and Nicholas, from what I heard, were not. They had shacked up in a tiny, overpriced apartment across town. Nicholas, without Eric's financial support, was struggling. Amy was working double shifts. Their romantic getaway had curdled into a grim, codependent reality. The day of the small claims hearing arrived. I wore a simple button-down shirt and slacks. I had my folder with all my documents neatly organized with tabs: the lease, the itemized invoice, bank records, and the photo of her partial payment check. I was calm. Amy showed up alone. She looked tired. The defiant anger she'd worn like armor was gone, replaced by a hollowed-out resentment. When our case was called, the mediator looked at my folder, then at her. I presented my case simply. We were joint tenants with a contractual obligation to split expenses. She failed to pay her share of the rent and utilities for this period. She has made a partial payment of $500, but a balance of $847.50 remains. Amy's defense was a rambling narrative about how I had betrayed her trust and how I was punishing her for moving on. The mediator held up a hand. "Ma'am, your personal relationship is not the issue here. The issue is a contract you signed. Did you pay your full share of the rent for the month in question?" "He packed my things," she insisted. "That was after you had already failed to pay and had abandoned the residence for a trip," the mediator said, gesturing to the evidence. "The debt was incurred before your things were packed. It was over in less than 20 minutes. The judgment was in my favor for the remaining $847.50, plus my court filing fees. As for the security deposit, it was no longer an issue. By signing the addendum to be removed from the lease, she had also signed away her claim to the deposit, a fact our landlord had made clear to her when she called him in a panic. It was now legally mine to be settled with the landlord at the end of my tenancy. That was the price of her clean break. She stared at me from across the room, her eyes filled with pure hatred. It was clear she still believed she was the victim. In her story, she would always be the one who was wronged. I walked out of the courthouse and didn't look back. I got the first wage garnishment payment 6 weeks later. It was a small amount, but it was a start. It's been almost a year now. The apartment is fully mine, a space of peace. The money doesn't matter anymore, but the closure does. My revenge wasn't a fiery explosion, was quiet, bureaucratic, and inescapable. I didn't have to scream or scheme. I just had to be calm, organized, and let their own actions create the consequences. I just used the system as it was designed. She wanted a break. She wanted to find herself. I hope she did. I hope she found the person who lies to people who love them, who shirks responsibility, and who believes they are entitled to a life free of consequences. And I hope she can live with her. As for me, I'm living just fine.